Okay, X, I need your help with this. This is not a copy pasta. It's a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. It's video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room, starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. While beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods, about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up the local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, fuck yeah, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it, but something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought that, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there were other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for. Immediately, I noticed that he must have been blind in one of his eyes. His right one, that had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look to his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he told me he had no idea what a video game was. But to my surprise, he then said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across it was rather peculiar paintings. Various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason, it looked almost like Majora's Mask. The same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outwards. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots. But given the event that happened afterwards, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked that man about it. I wish I did ask the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length, in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit, I jumped out of reflex and laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was a standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora on it in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how he phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to it. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical, since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge, and there was no guarantee it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected, maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game. That was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and he smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that he said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine. And there was one save file, simply named Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying, "Goodbye, Ben." I felt bad for the man, obviously, a grandparent and obviously going senile. I for one reason or another, reminded him of his grandson Ben. Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file, eyeballing it. I could tell that he was pretty far into the game. He had almost all of the masks, and 3/4 of the bosses remained. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3, and by the Stone Tower Temple. With hardly an hour left before the moon would crash, I remember thinking that it was a shame that he had come so close to beating the game, but never finished it. I made a new file named Link, out of tradition, and started the game, ready to relive my childhood. For such a shady looking cartridge, I was impressed at how smoothly it ran. Literally just like a retail copy of the game. Save for a few minor hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't be, and random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPCs would call me Link, and at other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in the programming, causing our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out after a while though, and it was around after I had beaten the Woodfall Temple and that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted Ben. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect of the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyway, hoping that would solve the problem. It did, and it didn't. Now NPCs wouldn't call me anything. Where my name should have been in the dialogue, there was just blank space. My save file name was still Link though. Frustrated and with homework to do, I put the game down for a day. I started playing it again last night, getting the lens of truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those who don't, you can Google it. But the gist is that right as the clock is about to hit 0 on the final day, you can talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you're doing. Deciding to do the glitch and to try to finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time counter at the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora boss fight room at the end of the game, you know, the trippy boxed-in arena. Staring at Skull Kid hovering above me, there was no sound, just him floating in the air, and the background music, which was regular to the area, but still creepy. Immediately, my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appeared here. I tried moving around the area, but no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugs or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when text appeared on the screen, "You're not sure why," which apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized the text. You get that message when you get the room key from Anju at the Stockpot Inn. But why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if that was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was. To even think that someone could reprogram the game like this was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen. And again, like the first one, it was an already pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple's boss? Yes or no? I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react. When I realized that I couldn't select no, taking a deep breath, I pressed yes, and the screen faded to white, with the words, "Dawn of a New Day," and the subtext beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear that I had ever experienced. The only way I can describe the way I felt here is having this feeling of an inexplicable depression on a profound scale. I am normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even know existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clocktown. I walked out of the clock tower, as you normally do when you start from day one, only to find out all of the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the 4th day glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs outside the tower. This time, they were all gone, What replaced them was the ominous feeling that there was something out there, in the same area as me, and that it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name, and the hero's bow, but at this point, I wasn't even concerned for my avatar. I felt that I personally was in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the Song of Healing, ripped straight out from the game itself, but played in reverse. It got louder, building up as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did, and the constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then, I would hear the faint laugh of the Happy Mask salesman in the background, just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was just hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to find him. I looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown, only to find nothing. No one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Hopelessly broken. As the reverse Song of Healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time. I just remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game before. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was a combination of the out-of-place textures or the atmosphere or the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears and had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here with this powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling. I tried leaving Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone in another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape and I did not want to be here. But every time I played the Song of Time or the Song of Soaring, it would only say, "Your notes echo far," but nothing happens. By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt that I would be too vulnerable there to whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head and the screen flashed for a brief moment of the Happy Mask salesman smiling at me. Not Link, me, with Skull Kid Scream playing in the background. When the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue from playing the Song of Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran out and back into South Clocktown. And to my horror, the fucking statue followed me. The only thing I can compare it to is like the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play, the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to fucking say it. Haunting me. By this point, I was on the verge of hysterics. But not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it. The terror felt all so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin to make weird animations I had never seen him do before. He would flail his arms around or spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the Happy Mask salesman smiling again for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running into the Swordmaster's dojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic, I just wanted some kind of assurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay, I found no one, but as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me in the cubby in the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword, but to no avail. Confused and backed into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly, the screen flashed again to the Happy Mask salesman, and Link turned to face my screen. Standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered while I ran out of the dojo terrified. Suddenly the game warped me to an underground tunnel and the reverse Song of Healing queued up again, and I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again, this time aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it summoned behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in southern Clocktown. As I ran aimlessly in sheer panic, suddenly a redead screamed and the screen faded to black as Dawn of the New Day and 111-1111 appeared again. The screen faded in and I was standing on top of Clock Tower with Skull Kid hovering over me again, silent. I looked up and the moon was black, looming just meters above my head, but the Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing, the Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at Skull Kid, and it actually hit him, and he played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow, a text box appeared saying, "That won't do you any good." And I was picked up off the ground, levitated upwards on my back, and then Link screamed as he burst into flames, instantly killing him. I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself didn't have any moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed, and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames again, killing him. This time, during the death scene, the faint sound of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time, that all there was eerie silence. I remembered that in the original encounter with the Skull Kid, you were supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon the giants. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames and he died. As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug, as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times. Except, this time, Link was lying on the ground dead, in a position I had never seen in the game before. His head tilted towards the camera, with the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move, I couldn't press any buttons. All I could do is just stare at Link's dead body. After about 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before kicking you out of the title screen. Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, it was replaced with "Your turn." Your turn had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I selected Your Turn, and immediately when I did, I was returned to the Clock Tower rooftop scene of my Link dead and the Skull Kid hovering over, with the Skull Kids laughing, looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted up again, there was one more save file added. Below Your Turn, entitled Ben. Ben's save file is right back where it was before I deleted it, at the Stone Tower Temple, with the moon almost crashing. I turned the game off at this point. I'm not suspicious, but this is way too fucked up, even for me. I haven't played it at all today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse song of healing music in my head and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with my buddy of mine. No fucking way am I going there alone. Only to find that there is a "for sale" sign in the front yard, and when I rang the door, no one was home. So now I'm back here, writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if some of this has grammatical errors and whatnot. I'm running on no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game, even more so now that I relived it a second time writing all this down. But I feel like there's still more to it than meets the eye, and that there's something calling me to investigate this further. I think Ben is something in this equation. I don't know what, and if I could get a hold of this old man, then I would be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate before tracking this game again. It's already taken a toll on my sanity, I feel like. But next time I do this, I'm going to be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you can see the last few minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and the Elegy statue. But it's on YouTube here. I'm going to stay in this thread a little while longer before I fall asleep to answer any questions you might have, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories to help me shed some light into this, or maybe things I should try to do. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow and to see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit, but this is a little fucked up. But maybe this Ben guy is just a really good hacker or a programmer. I don't want to think about the alternatives if he isn't. That's the end of the copy-paste. I'm hoping that maybe this is some kind of running gag that developers had, and that other people have gotten gag or hacked copies of the game like this. This just really scares me. Sorry it took me so long, guys. I'm back. I'm going to post what happened and link the video footage. But last night, everything got too real for me. I think I'm done messing around with this. I passed out pretty much immediately after making that thread. But last night, that Elegy of Emptiness statue, I had a dream about it. I dreamt that it was following me in a dream. That I would be minding my own business. When I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end, I would turn around. That thing, that horrible, lifeless statue, would be staring with those empty eyes right at me, mere inches away. In my dream, I remember calling it Ben, and never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. But the important thing is, I did get some sleep, I suppose. Today, putting off playing the game as long as I could, I drove back up to that neighborhood to see if the old man came back. As I expected, the car was still gone, and no one was home. As I was walking back to my car, the man next door, mowing the grass, killed the power to his lawnmower and asked me if I was looking for someone. I told him I was looking to talk to that old man that lived here, to which he told me what I already knew. He was moving. Trying a different avenue, I asked if the old man had any family or relatives I could talk to. I discovered that this old man had never been married, nor did he have any children or grandchildren through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question, one that I should have asked from the beginning. Who was Ben? The man's expression turned grim, and I learned that 4 doors down, around 8 years ago, on April 23rd, the man informed me that it was the same day as his anniversary. That's how he knew that specific date. There was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood shortly after his parents moved, and despite any further attempts to talk to the man to get more information, he wouldn't divulge anything. I went back and started playing again. I loaded up the game and immediately I jumped at the title screen where the mask flies by. The sound that played was not the normal whoosh sound. It was something much more higher pitched. I pressed start, bracing for the worst. But just like 2 nights ago, the files Your Turn and Ben were displayed. Truth be told, I looked at the Ben file earlier. It seemed to fluctuate between displaying the owl statue or not. I brought up the Ben file, hesitated for a moment, noticing that the stats were not the same as they were originally 2 days ago. It seemed like he had already completed the Stone Tower Temple this time. Summoning my courage, I selected it. Immediately, I was thrusted into complete chaos. Sure enough, I was outside Stone Tower Temple, but that's about all that was expected. The zone itself wasn't called Stone Tower Temple, but rather and immediately a dialogue box of complete gibberish that I couldn't make out greeted me. Link's body was distorted. His back was cocked violently to the side, where his posture was permanently disfigured. Link's expression was dull, almost monotonous. He had an expression on his face that I didn't recognize before. It was a blank look, as if he was dead. As Link stood there, his body spasmed irregularly back and forth. I examined what had become of my avatar and noticed I had a C button item I had never seen before, some kind of note, but pressing it did nothing. Sounds played back and forth that I didn't recognize from the game, almost demonic in nature, and there was some kind of high-pitched yip or some kind of laugh or something playing in the background. I had all of 2 minutes to take in the environment before another one of those fucking Elegy of Emptiness statues was summoned, and immediately after, I was cut into the Dawn of a New Day screen. Except this time, it was without the one subtext. I was a Deku scrub in Clocktown. This scene would normally play after the first time you traveled back in time. Taddy would say, "What happened? What just happened?" It's as if everyone has. But instead of saying, "Start it over," she finished her remark in broken text, as a laugh of happy mask salesman played in the background. I was put back in control of my character, but from a fucked up camera angle. I was looking from behind the door to the clock tower, watching my avatar run around as a Deku scrub. Seeing as how I really had no place to go because I couldn't see anything, I begrudgingly went inside the door. There, I was greeted by the Happy Mask salesman, who simply told me, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before the screen widened out. I was in Termina Field as a human again. I might as well not have been playing the same game anymore. I was being warped around and there was no signs of a day clock or anything. I took a moment to get my bearings as I looked around the field, and immediately I could tell that this was not normal. There were no enemies, and a twisted version of Happy Mask Salesman theme was playing. I decided to run towards Woodfall before I noticed a gathering of 3 figures off to the side, one of them being Epona. As I approached them, to my horror, I saw the Happy Mask Salesman, the Skull Kid, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue just standing there. I figured maybe they were bugged out, but by now I told myself that I should know better. Nevertheless, I approached them carefully and found that the Skull Kid was playing some kind of idle animation on loop. Same with Epona, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue was doing what it had been doing all along, just standing there eerily. It was the Happy Mask Salesman that scared me more profoundly than the other two. He too was idle, wearing that shit-eating grin, but wherever I moved, his head slowly turned and followed me. I had not engaged in any dialogue with him, nor was I in combat with him, yet his head still continued to follow my movements. Reminded of my first encounter with the Skull Kid on top of Clock Tower, I pulled out my ocarina, to which the game played the ding when you're supposed to play your ocarina, and tried a song I hadn't played yet. The Happy Mask Salesman owned song, and the song that had been playing on loop back in day 4, the Song of Healing. I finished playing the song, and as I did, a ear-piercing shriek blasted on my TV. The sky immediately started flashing, and Happy Mask Salesman's twisted theme song sped up, intensifying the fear inside me. And Link exploded into flames and died. The 3 figures stayed lit up during my death screen, and they watched my lifeless body burn. I can't describe to you how sudden and terrifying the transition from eerie to terror it is. You're gonna have to watch the video if you want to see it firsthand. That same fear that caused me to lose sleep 2 days ago started to grip at me again, as I was met with the text, "You've met with a horrible fate, haven't you?" for the 3rd time. There has to be some kind of meaning behind that. I had a little time to ponder, as I was immediately given another small cutscene of transforming into a Zora, and now I found myself in Great Temple Bay. Hesitant but curious to see what the game had in store for me, I slowly made my way towards the beach, where I found Epona. I wondered why the game had decided to put her here. Was the game implying she was trying to get a drink? Unable to take the mask off, I decided that riding the steed wasn't the reason she was placed there. Suddenly, I realized that Epona kept neighing, and the way she was angled made it look like she was trying to signal a point to me off in the distance. It was a hunch, but I dove into Great Bay and started swimming. Sure enough, I almost missed it. I found something at the bottom of the ocean. The last Elegy of Emptiness statue. I went down to examine it, and suddenly my Zora started doing a choking animation I'd never seen a Zora do before, which didn't even make any sense because Zoras can breathe underwater. Regardless, my character choked to death and died. And again, the statue was the only thing that was highlighted in my death. I didn't respawn this time. I was booted back to the main menu as if I restarted the console. The press start screen was before me. I knew the only reason why it would put me here is because the save files had changed again. Taking a deep breath, I pressed start, and I was right. The new save files told me about Ben. Now it made sense why the statue appeared when I tried to go to the laundry pool. The game must have anticipated how I would have tried to escape the day 4 Clock Town. The 2 save files told me his fate. As I suspected, Ben was dead. He had drowned. The game obviously isn't through with me. It taunts me with the new save files. It wants me to keep playing. It wants me to go further. But I'm done with this shit. I'm not touching any more of the files. This is already way too horrifying for me, and I don't even believe in the paranormal. But I'm running out of explanations. Why would someone send me this message? I don't understand it. I just get too depressed thinking about this. The footage is up here for those who want to see it and try to analyze it. Maybe there's some kind of coded message in the gibberish or something symbolic in what I went through. I'm too emotionally and mentally drained to fuck with it anymore. I'm trying to get a hold of a camera so I can take a picture of the cartridge, but I have a feeling that once I do that, then those same people will not be content with having an unexplainable event and want me to jump through more hoops for proof. I promise you that I will, but just for the rest of the day, I just want to distance myself from this thing and recuperate. I will answer all of your questions and give you all of the pictures I can tomorrow. Some of you guys may give me shit for this, but you can't imagine how taxing this is for me emotionally. It's one thing to see this footage and read what I have to say. It's another entirely when you're playing this by yourself and it's like the game is actually trying to reach out to you personally. Having said that, here is the link. Maybe there is more to analyze here. Hopefully we can figure this out without the need for additional playthroughs. I really don't think I can keep subjecting myself to this. I don't have a long string of paragraphs for this one. I know it's early in the morning. I've stayed up all night. I can't sleep. I don't care if people see this. That's not the point. I just want the word to get spread so I don't suffer for nothing. I've lost the will to type this. The less I dwell on this, the better. I think the video just speaks for itself. I did what you guys told me to. I played the Elegy of Emptiness song at the first prompt by the game I was given. But I think that's what the game, or Ben, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm even humoring this absurd idea that he exists in the game, wants me to do. He's following me now. Not just in the game, he's in my dreams. I see him all the time, behind my back, just watching me. I haven't gone to any of my classes. I've stayed in my dorm room with the windows closed and the blinds shut. That way, I know he can't watch me. But he still gets me when I play. When I play, he can still see me. The game is scaring me now. It talked to me for the first time, not just using text. That's already in the game. It spoke to me, talked to me. It referenced Ben, it talked to me. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it wants. I never wanted this. I just want my old life back. Stuff like this doesn't happen to people like me. I'm just a kid. I'm not even old enough to drink yet. It's not fair. I want to go home. I want to see my parents again. I'm so far away from home here at this school. I just want to hug my mom again. I just want to forget that statue's horrible blank face. My original game file is back, just the way I left it before I was gone. I don't want to play anymore. I feel like something bad will happen if I don't, but that's impossible. It's a video game. Haunted or not, it can't hurt me, right? Like seriously though, it can't. Right? That's what I keep telling myself, but every time I think about it, I'm not so sure. Let me just clear things up. I know you guys are worried about Jedusable, but he's okay. He finished moving out today, and he said he's going back home. He's just taking the semester off. I'm not really sure what's happened. I have a vague idea, but you guys probably know more than I do. I'm Jedusable's roommate, and obviously, I knew something was wrong with him for a few days now. He stayed in his room all the time, fell out of contact with literally all of his friends, and I'm pretty sure he hadn't been eating anything. After the second day, I couldn't stay in there anymore, so I've been crashing at a buddy's place, only coming into my room to get stuff that I need. I tried talking to him several times, but he would cut me off or keep the conversation brief when I asked him about his strange behavior. It's like he was convinced something was hunting him. Yesterday, I came to grab my philosophy book and he approached me, looking awful, like horrible bags under his eyes. He handed me a flash drive and gave me specific instructions. He told me that he needs me to do one last favor for him. He finally explained to me what has been going on, gave me the account info to his YouTube account, and he gave me instructions on how to post with his name code on specifically this board. He said you guys have been helping him along the way, and you deserve to see the end of it. He told me that he's getting away from here, that it lured him to play it again instead of trying to change things, and that he shouldn't have done that, and to upload the footage and inform people what happened. I told him that he could do it himself, and he got this wild look in his eye and told me that he is never looking at that game again. And that's the last thing he said to me. He never even said bye when his parents came to pick him up. I was hoping I'd at least get a chance to meet his parents when they picked him up, but they were in and out so quick I never saw them. I honestly can't tell you what happened. When he spoke, it was kind of hard to understand him, and his fucked up appearance really distracted me. On the flash drive, there was a footage of the game last night, a text document with his name and password for YouTube, and a third document called thetruth.txt, containing what he told me were his notes that he'd taken. He told me that this meant everything to him, that I follow his instructions exactly. Normally, I wouldn't be so to the letter for requests over a fucking video game, but the way he spoke and the way he looked made me know that this was really serious, and I'm going to honor that. I've had this video since yesterday, but had to have someone help me use Pinnacle. That's not really my forte. After watching it, I had to go back through and look at his other videos on his YouTube account to realize what was going on, and even then, I'm really confused. The video I'm releasing tonight, The Truth.txt, will be released on September 15th, just like he requested. I don't know why he wants to wait for his notes to be published after what he's been through, but I'll honor that request. I haven't dared to peek at it yet, so the first time I see it will be the first time you see it, out of respect to my friend. To answer your questions, no, I haven't tried calling him yet. I think I'll give him a call tomorrow to see if he's okay or not. He should have gotten back home by now. About the video. In this video, I cut straight to when he loaded the Ben file in the game. Looking back, I realized that Deducible left the save select screen in because it said different names sometimes, so my bad for that. But all it said this time was the same at the end of the last video, Lincoln Ben. Nothing different. I wasn't there when he played it, but it looks to me like in the beginning when he first spawns, he's testing out his equipment to see what item he has or something, because apparently they've changed randomly before. He really wants you guys to see this, and the video starts then. After that, I just think the game got too personal for him. Here's the video. Honesty is the best policy.